Hello students, welcome to the fourth session of our third module. Today we are going to continue our topic multiple evaporators. Okay, multiple evaporators. We have already studied two types of multiple evaporator system. Now we will learn third type, multiple evaporators at different temperatures with individual compressors and multiple expansion valve. So just note down this point at a different temperature. So all the evaporators are maintained at a different temperature with individual compressors. So each evaporator has got its own compressors and multiple expansion valve. So students, what is the difference between this third type and the second type you have studied? So I will show you the second type. In this previous class we have studied multiple evaporators at different temperatures with individual compressors and individual expansion valve. So that's the important point. It was based on individual. Each evaporator has got its own expansion valve. So students, from this point, it is the stream is split into three. Stream is split into three streams will be there, and each stream has got its own expansion valve. So that is, each evaporator has got its own expansion valve. So that is a type of it can be considered as individual expansion valve for each evaporator. But students, the case is different here. Here you can see that same stream is coming from condenser to expansion valve 3. Okay, so all the refrigerant from the condenser flows through the expansion valve E3 where its pressure is reduced. So here you can see where its pressure is reduced to condenser, from condenser pressure to evaporator pressure P3, corresponding to PE3. So pressure reduction takes place here. Okay. Now from this point, you can see in this graph, the vapor form. It is some part will move to the EP3, evaporator 3, and some part will move to the liquid part. The liquid part will move to second expansion valve, right? All the vapor formed after leaving the expansion valve E3, uh, E3 will move to load of evaporator. So load of evaporator EP3 will move to EP3 through this through that route, through this route, right? Through this route. So I will tell you once more. You can see that all the vapor formed after expansion in the E3 will pass through evaporator EP3. Okay, the remaining refrigerant then flows through next expansion valve E2. So where its pressure gets reduced to, so remaining will be in liquid form, remaining refrigerant will, so here splitting will take place. So one move to this direction, one move to this direction. This is moving to EP3, this is moving to E2, second expansion valve. So this is second expansion valve. Here what happens, here the pressure again gets reduced from PE3 to PE2. So after such pressure reduction, all the vapor formed after leaving the expansion valve E2 will move to evaporator 2, and the remaining refrigerant moves to next expansion valve E1 where its pressure again gets reduced. So here again a splitting takes place, and in this process 11 to 12, expansion takes place from PE2 to PE1, the evaporator pressure of the final evaporator. Okay, so this is multiple evaporators at different temperatures with individual compressors and multiple expansion valve. Why it is not considered as individual expansion valve? Because for this EP1, for this particular evaporator, the pressure is getting reduced to this PE1 through all these three expansion valve. Not a single expansion valve is doing all the job. All the three expansion valve work together to reduce the pressure to the evaporator pressure of this particular evaporator. For this particular evaporator, this two expansion valve does the job. For this particular evaporator, only expansion valve third do the job. Okay, so that is why it is known as multiple expansion valve. But in this case, for EP1, only E1 is doing the job. For EP2, only E2 is doing the job. For EP3, only E3 is doing the job. So each evaporator has got its own separate expansion valve. So that is the difference. So in this pH diagram, you can see that there is no splitting. It is same line, but here splitting is taking place. Okay, here splitting is taking place. Because it has got expansion is taking place in all the three evaporators for each so all the three expansion is taking place in all the three expansion valves, right? So that is why splitting is taking place. So understand the difference. Now we will learn to find how could you calculate the mass of refrigerant required to be circulated. So here since there are three circuits, you can write the mass here is okay. You can see that this is mass of reference circulating through EP1, mass of reference circulating through EP2, mass of reference circulating through EP3. Okay, so all this sum of all these three will be passing through here. That is just put it as m dot. Okay, so you have to note that the outlet pressure line is same for all the compressors, so that they are getting compressed to one single pressure. Okay, one single pressure. Now how to calculate me1 dot can be found by using the equation. If Q1 is the heat load for first evaporator, divided by H1 minus, so you can delete this particular, you can see here H, okay, this is 1, this is 12, so H1 minus H12. Similarly Me2 or M2, you just can put it either way, 210 Q2 by, what is the case here, it will be H3 and H3 and it will be H10, right? H10 or H11, no problem. You put it as H11. Okay, this is the point, right? H10 and H3. Okay, H3 minus H10. Similarly, M3 will be M3 can be found, or Me3 can be found using 210 into Q3 by H1 minus H5 minus H8, sorry, H9, H5 minus H9. So you know how to formulate this equation. Now we have to find the relationship between. So in addition to the so students, there is a slight difference, a slight addition of mass of refrigerant flowing through the evaporator 2. So what is that slight variation? So I have already told you that while you can see that the second evaporator EP2, this EP2 is also supplied with vapors formed during expansion of uh, me1 amount of refrigerant while passing through the expansion valve E2, right? Right? Have you understood? So while passing through E2, there are some vapors formed during the expansion of Me1 while passing through E2. Okay, so you have to make a small change here. So m dot e2 is 210 q2 by h3 minus h10, but actually m dot 2 will be equal to m dot e2 plus 1 m, some extra amount of refrigerant is passing through evaporator 2. So if x10 is a dryness fraction of refrigerant leaving the expansion valve E2, so x10 is a dryness fraction of the refrigerant leaving the expansion valve E2. Okay, then the mass of vapors formed by Me1, while passing through the expansion valve E2 is given by M2 dash, and M2 dash will be equal to Me1 into X10 by 1 minus X10, if X10 is the dryness fraction. So M2 dash can be M2 dot can be written as Me1 plus, sorry, Me2 Me2 plus Me2 plus what, M E1 into 1 minus X10 by 1 minus X10. Okay, so that will be the mass of refrigerant flowing through. Similarly, M3 dot can be written as M E3 plus M3 dash. Okay, so Me3 plus M3 dash means Me3 plus M3 dash will be Me1 plus Me2 Me1 plus Me2, sorry, make it M2. Okay, M2 into x8 by 1 minus x8. Okay, so this will be the equation. So total mass flow rate will be m1 dot plus m2 dot plus m3 dot. Okay, so what is m1 dot? M1 dot is this itself. This is, in this case, same. M1 dot will be E1 dot itself. Okay. So how to calculate the power and all? Power and all usually P1. Sorry, the power required for the first compressor is M1 dot into H2 minus H1. P2 will be M2 dot into H4 minus H3. It will be similarly M3 dot will be P3 will be M dot 3 into H6 minus H5. So it is very important that you should be able to determine the value of mass flow rate through each of the evaporator or each of the compressor. Then only you can calculate refrigerating effect and individual power. So you should be careful enough so that M1 dot, M2 dot and M3 dot are found like this, because we cannot calculate simply based on here if we use only these equations, it won't be right, because there are since the expansion valve is not individual expansion valve, they are multiple expansion valve, because expansion valve expansion valve is not solely for a particular evaporator. It is applicable for all the three different expansion valve. Okay, all the three different expansion valve. Now this is the fourth type of evaporator, multiple evaporator system. Multiple evaporators at different temperatures, and this is a compound compressor. There is a difference. Compound compressor and individual expansion valve. Okay, so individual expansion valve means each expansion valve is applicable for its respective evaporator only. So this is the schematic for this type. And what is actually compound compressor? Compound compressor means all the compressors has got different inlet pressures and different outlet pressures. So here you can see that it compresses in like stepwise compression. Okay, so in the previous case, all the outlet temperature, all the outlet pressure are same. So all the compressors are compressing to the same outlet pressure, but here they are compressing it to intermediate pressures, and then again compressing to another intermediate pressure, and the final compressor compress it to the final condenser pressure. Okay, so they are not having a same line at outlet, same outlet line. The compressors don't have same outlet pressure line. Okay, so that is the difference here. So I think no much explanation is required. You can calculate M1, M2 and M3 using the load equation. Like M1 can be cancelled. M1 dot is 210 Q1 by H1 minus H12. Similarly M2 dot. Since these are individual expansion valve, no much complexity in calculating mass flow rate through individual evaporators. 210 Q2 by H2 minus H11, and M3 dot will be 210 Q3 by H6 minus H10. All these equations you know, and total mass can be calculated. Okay. One complexity that you may encounter is that the here suppose mass flowing through this is m1, okay, m1. So m1 is getting compressed here. Now compression here will be the second compressor is compressing both this m1 and m2 also. Okay, so this stream is getting added here, right? So m1 plus m2 is getting compressed in the second compressor, and the third compressor will be having m1 plus m2 plus m3. Okay, so that is the difference. And since there is a mixing taking place, so here, so we note that in this point and this point, mixing of two streams are getting taking place, right? Mixing of two streams, so that this point 4 and 7, in order to find the enthalpy at the point H4 and H7, you should do the thermal equilibrium. You should get that thermal equilibrium condition. So at point 4 you can write m1 plus m2 into enthalpy of that point will be equal to so this is the point 4, right? Point 4 will be equal to the enthalpy of this stream plus enthalpy of this stream. So what is the enthalpy of this particular stream? Mass of this stream m1 into enthalpy of that point. Here m2 mass of the stream into enthalpy of that point. So you can write m1 h2 plus m2 h3. So H4 can be written as M1 H2 plus M2 H3 by M1 plus M2. So this is how you find the enthalpy of that particular point. Similarly, H7 can be also found using the same method. M1 plus M2 into H5 plus M3 into H6 by M1 plus M2 plus M3, because in the seventh point in that particular state, this here from this side M1 plus M2 is coming, from this side M3 is coming, so the whole will become M1 plus M2 plus M3. So that is a method to write, method to find the value of H4 and H7. Okay, so if we are able to find the value of H4 and H7, we can easily calculate power 1 as M1 into H2 minus H1. P2 will be M2 into, so not M2, M1 plus M2, two streams are there, right? M1 plus M2 into H5 minus H4. Now you can easily, you have the value of H4 with you, and P3 is nothing but M1 plus M2 plus M3 into H8 minus H7. The value of H7 is also with you. So the total power will be P1 plus P2 plus P3, right? The COP will be total refracting effect by P, that is Q1. Okay, 210 Q1. Better you write it as 210 Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3 by total P. If P should be in kilojoule per minute, okay, not kilojoule per second. So in order to make kilojoule per minute, you just multiply it with 60 if it is in kilowatts. If it is kilowatts, so those things, those unit things and all, you don't worry about it. If you keep all the units in SI, then there won't be much problem. Okay, so those things are important only while doing problems. Most probably no problems will be asked from this session. Try to make things thorough, okay, concepts thorough. So what is the difference between compound compressors, individual expansion valve, multiple expansion valve? So all these things you should be well thorough. Okay, how the pH diagram change with each different type. Okay, so this is a fifth type, multiple evaporators at different temperatures, compound compressors, again individual expansion valve, okay, and flash intercooler. So slightly different from the fourth type. An extra component is added. Flash intercoolers are added. So when flash intercoolers are added, it is different from the previous case. How? Here no flash intercoolers. So these points, these 2 points, 4 and 7 were outside the dome, outside the dome. But when you add flash intercoolers, so you have already learned the case of compressors. These points reaches on that saturated vapor line, so that you can decrease the power required in case of compressors. Okay, rest all remain same. The function, the working remains same. Only difference is that you can bring those points, you can bring those outlet, the state of refrigerant when it exits compressors will be on saturated vapor line if a flash intercooler is used. So I'm not going to explain it more. Basic working is similar with the case we have studied in the fourth type. Okay, so hope you have understood that working. So using flash intercooler means there will be a heat exchange between these two streams. There will be a heat exchange between these two streams. So more desuperating will take place. Desuperating will take place. That is why these points get displaced to saturated vapor line since it is desuperated. Okay. So method of finding mass flow rate through each evaporators remains same. Okay, so no more explanations required. Now we will go to another type of a final type of system. Actually we have studied mainly broadly we divided multiple so advanced vapor compression system into three. One was multiple compressor system, multiple compression system. Second one was multiple evaporation system, multiple evaporator system. And third one is the cascade system. So we are now going to learn cascade system. Okay. So students, this is the cascade system. Okay. So cascade system consists of two different cycle, two different reference will be used. So before that, uh, before that, I will introduce a concept called cryogenics. Okay, cryogenics. So what is cryogenics? It is a study of production and behavior of materials at very low temperature. Very low temperature. Production of very low temperature of the order minus 150 degrees Celsius. So minus 150 degrees Celsius and all won't be easily attained using our normal or conventional refrigeration system. So in order to reach minus 150 degrees Celsius and all, the technique is called cryogenics. So it is nothing but production of very low temperature of the order minus 150 degrees Celsius. So cryogenic liquids, super freezing permanent gases to liquid state. So in order to convert oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen and all to its liquid state, means you have to cool those gases. So in order to cool those gases, you have to apply the cryogenic technique. So the boiling point of nitrogen at atmospheric pressure is minus 195 degrees. Nitrogen boiling point is minus 196 degrees Celsius. So if you have to convert nitrogen into liquid, you have to reach this particular temperature. So you won't be able to easily attain those temperatures using our conventional refrigeration system. So you have to use cryogenic technique. Okay. So there are limitations for multi-stage or advanced vapor compression refrigeration system for production of low temperature. Such a low temperature cannot be attained using our conventional multi-stage compression or evaporator system, since only one refrigerant is used throughout the system. So the refrigerant used should have like high critical point and very low freezing point and all. So such case EOP will be very low if we go for a lower temperature with higher pressure ratio. So there are a lot of limitations. So the above limitations can be overcome using cascade system. So cascade system is used to produce very low temperature. It is a part of cryogenics. So this cascade system perform the refrigeration process in two different stage with different refrigerants. Okay, so that is cascade system. A series of refrigerants with progressively lower boiling points are used in a series of single stage units. So that is cascade refrigeration system. So here you can see that in the figure. So here there are two cycles, lower cycle and upper cycle. So this is a vapor compression system. This is another vapor compression system. So the peculiarity is that the condenser of this lower cycle vapor compression system acts as evaporator for the second cycle. These two cycles have got two different refrigerants, and the condenser of this particular refrigeration system acts as evaporator for the next cycle. Or this two together, it will act as a heat exchanger. Okay, the condenser of lower stage system is coupled to a evaporator of the next higher stage, and so on. So you can add one more cycle here, or n number of cycles can be added. Okay, so the boiling point of this refrigerant will be higher than boiling point. So BP1, BP2. So BP2 will be lower than BP1. So that is the peculiarity. So progressively the boiling point should be lower. Okay. The component where heat of condensation of lower stage refrigerant is supplied for. So the the heat of, so you can see that the component where heat of condensation. So here heat of condensation in the lower cycle is rejected. That rejected heat of condensation will be absorbed by the refrigerant of the second stage as heat of evaporation. Okay. So that particular component is known as cascade condenser. Okay. So this particular component where heat of condensation of the first refrigerant is absorbed as heat of vaporization in the second cycle, that particular component, that is actually a heat exchanger, that particular component is known as cascade condenser. So it acts as condenser in the first condenser for the first or the lower cycle, and acts as an evaporator for the second cycle. Okay, so you can see here the pH diagram and all. So actually it is two cycles coupled together. Okay, the two cycles. So basically the red cycle represents the 1, 2, 3, 4. The red represents the lower cycle, and the blue represents the higher cycle. Okay, so from 1 to 2 it gets compressed in the low temperature cascade compressor. Then 2 to 3 cascade condensation, and heat rejected in cascade condensation is transferred to the evaporator in the higher cycle. Okay, so this heat is used as evaporation in the second cycle. Okay, so after cascade condensation, it will get expanded in the expansion valve, this expansion valve, and evaporation takes place in this evaporator. Okay, that cycle continues, and in the second cycle, the heat from the cascade condensation is used for vaporization, and then it gets compressed in this particular compressor, and the condensation takes place. So you can see that large amount of condensation takes place here. And important point is that after condensation, it will get it will get expanded to this particular temperature, right? And after that, it again continues evaporation in this cascade condenser. So you have to note that this is the evaporator. So here is actually the lower temperature is obtained. So you can obtain a very low temperature here. So the temperature which is not possible in case of multiple stage compression or evaporation system is achieved here. Okay. So actually this upper cycle, cools the lower cycle, and this lower cycle cools the refrigerator space. Okay, so the boiling point of refrigeration, I have written like this, right? This is wrong. BP1 will be less than BP2. Boiling point of this particular, if this is 1, this is 2. Boiling point of lower cycle, this is lower cycle, this is upper cycle. The boiling point of refrigerant in lower cycle will be lower than boiling point of refrigerant in upper cycle. Okay, so it comes the cascade system helps to attain a very low temperature in the evaporator. So with this, I am stopping this session, and we have completed that multiple advanced vapor compression system is completed. So if you have got any doubts, you can contact me, and in next session we will going to learn about refrigerants, that's nomenclature, its properties and all. It's a very important section, a very important topic that you should learn. And in the third section, after studying about refrigerant, we will study vapor absorption system. So here we have studied vapor compression system, and there we are going to learn vapor absorption system. Okay, so thank you.